HD. ZNS Network presents The Bahamas Tonight. This portion of the news brought to you by BTC Everyday.
The Prime Minister on a crusade in Paris to gain financial support to address climate change here in the Bahamas. Good evening, everyone. I'm Chris Saunders.
And I'm Charisma Robinson. Prime Minister the Right Honorable Perry Christie addressed business leaders in France this week, noting areas the Bahamas will be tackling as it seeks to deal with the challenges of climate change. Meanwhile, the Environment Minister is mapping out a plan to ensure the Bahamas is able to access that critical funding. Clint Watson starts us off tonight from this report from Paris.
The Bahamian government says the message can never be reiterated enough. Should the sea level rise 5 feet, 80% of the Bahamas will be covered with water. And every time there is a weather system that creates a disaster in the Bahamas, we are reminded of the seriousness of this issue. Environment Minister, the Honorable Kenred Dorset.
We're in discussions with countries right now where we are going to be able to get technology to help us to understand the extent to which our oceans are acidifying so that we would be able to take corrective measures.
At a separate breakfast focusing on small island developing states, Prime Minister the Right Honorable Perry Christie told attendees that funding to address the devastation by weather and climate systems is also an important measure, one that he also expects the local insurance industry in the Bahamas to participate in.
As soon as I return home, I intend to look at the question of insurance and how this can help us recover the loss of damage from these storms. Insurance should be there to help in this, and its applications need to help a country should not be denied by resort to outdated legalisms. This was our most recent experience with Hurricane Joaquin.
Minister Dorset says the funds are needed for adaptation and mitigation of issues spurred by climate change, and that goes as far as impacting energy usage and even food consumption. The United Nations has established a fund of $1 billion to assist countries. To this end, the government will be considering a separate agency under his ministry to ensure access to the various streams of funding available. Already, much work has been done to ensure the Bahamas qualifies.
We'll now be focusing on putting in place the national entity which will be utilized to obtain funding through the Green Climate Fund. That's what we'll be doing when we return home. And that will become the instrument by which we're able to access more funding from the GCF and other bodies. But we also are going to have bilaterals with countries. Countries are making offers to the Bahamas to see what they could assist us with. And they want bankable projects. They want projects that are well structured. And so there are some things that we're going to be doing in the foreseeable future to enable us to access that funding. Some of it will be rebuilding coastal resilience in some of our islands. Some of it will be renewable energy focused. Some of it will be about building capacity in the country.
Minister Dorset says another focus while in Paris will be to ensure the Bahamas per capita income is not used against us in obtaining funding.
We're certainly pleased that the United States of America last year made the giant leap of saying that they will not use that against us in terms of grant funding or our ability to access concessionary funds. We now need the European Union and other countries to follow suit. And so we'll be having discussions in the margins to speak to those particular issues, because our vulnerability and looking at our ability to finance these things ourselves ought to take precedence over our per capita income.
The Bahamas is making a very strong case here in Paris, but the true test will come after all of the formalities and window dressings are done, and over the next 2 weeks, negotiations will actually begin here at the conference. Coming out of that, we'll know whether or not the kind of assistance we've been lobbying for has been granted. In Paris, Clint Watson, ZNS Network News.